sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. This is
No.
another subject.
Great.
What are the differences in party registration between 2006 and now in the district?
The party registrations keep trending towards the Democrats. District-wide, we're seeing about the same level of increase. It's about 2-to-1 registered, more in registered Democrats than Republicans since the primary. And that leaves still district-wide about 47.5% registered Republicans, about 38% registered Democrats, and about 16% registered independents. My job is not only to appeal to Democrats, who I'm hoping are going to be motivated and highly motivated to turn out in this election, but it's to appeal to the independents. Because
is that a large percentage for independents?
Huge.
Is it really?
It's huge. It's an anomaly that makes it impossible for people outside of this district, maybe even outside our campaign, to say that this race is unpredictable because of that. We don't know why people register as independents. We know that they are. And we know that they're coming in Frederick County, particularly out of Montgomery County. And our number is as high as 18%. But it's pretty true district-wide. The toughest parts of the district are Carroll County and Garrett County. They're about, Andrew got about 30% in those two counties 2 years ago. There was virtually no measurable independent turnout. It's a huge issue for us. We think Obama does a good job at appealing to independents, so we think that will help focus people. And clearly, 2 years has made a lot of difference. I mean, it's doubled the price of a gallon of gas. We're all anticipating pretty tough heating bills for the winter. And if you live on a block with a house for sale, you are lucky because most blocks have 2 or 3 houses for sale. So people are watching with a lot more personal interest.
Now, there's a lot of talk about special interest groups. Who do you see as supporting Roscoe and against you?
That's a good question. Special interest groups, who supports me and who supports Roscoe, and why would they be against me? I think it's pretty safe to say the traditional 6th district issue are gays, gods, and guns.
Rock on. In that order?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do think that's it. And let me address those briefly, because I think they are meant to distract us and meant to get us off the bigger issues. In terms of the gay issue, people want to say that it's we need a constitutional amendment to make sure marriage is only between a man and a woman. Well, this morning, interestingly, I was driving up to Hagerstown, heard a story on NPR. It's Loving Day. You heard that also. And in Virginia, until 41 years ago, it was illegal for people of opposite races, or different races, I don't know what an opposite is, to marry. In fact, I was going to a meeting in Hagerstown with a lawyer who said, you know what, it's still on the books in Maryland. It's illegal. Now, the courts have struck it down as unconstitutional, but it's still on the book. So you go to the day that people try and make this an issue. Clearly, the government has no business regulating why or with whom we fall in love. And, you know, if they did, they probably wouldn't do a very good job of it. So my position is the federal government should have no role in this. The states can decide how they want to, and I'm not going to get involved in it. I think people should have the right to choose for themselves. This is the land of liberty, right? The other issue is God, particularly prayer in schools. Now, those of you who know me know that I went to Mount St. Mary's, and if you add all that up, it's 16 years of Catholic education. So I prayed every day in school, some days more than others, and I also know that that was my parents' choice and my choice. And I certainly would not want a member of Congress or a president of the United States choosing what prayer or when. And I have to add this in because a year after the invasion of Iraq, there was this great ceremony down on Capitol Hill. And our own Roscoe Bartlett was a party to it. You know this story? No. You don't know this story? You've heard of Reverend Sung Myung Moon, right?
Oh, I remember, yeah.
You remember this story.
I remember this.
Yes, you remember the story of Congressman Bartlett, who has sworn and signed on to a constitutional amendment to allow prayer in school. He was the one carrying the ermine robe for the coronation as the Messiah on earth for Reverend Sung Myung Moon. It hurt my back too, Mom. I could not believe when I watched this, not only was he carrying it, how dismissive he was afterwards and saying, oh, he's just a nice old guy. He's just a nice old guy who controls a huge empire. So this is a guy who wants to say, you're going to marry 900 people in front of me they've never met before, but he's going to also put a constitutional amendment that says only a man and a woman can marry. Now, this stuff doesn't make any sense. And when you talk about Reverend Moon and what prayer he might offer, well, you know, my education said, I don't think you're the Messiah on earth because you're not supposed to say it and get crowned because that's how it works. This is kind of scary stuff. So it's meant to be a distraction. And we're not going to allow him to distract us again. He's going to say, you got to pray. And I say, I do. But that's my business. And the last is guns. You know, people want to say the Second Amendment is sacrosanct. Hear, hear. Because if I'm going to argue about a comma in the Second Amendment that talks about militias or not militias, then I have to argue about every comma that's in the Constitution and what that might mean. I don't think that we should get involved in fights, and again, this comes from, you know, a little bit of learning, that are not worth fighting because, well, we agree on so much of it, or that the point is so far afield of what's important in our world and in our community. So those are the big issues that they'll get me on. I'm a raging liberal, I'm sure they'll say. And I'm the one who wanted to cut positions from the city government budget. Kelly will attest to that. And there were some Republicans who put them back in. Now, that wasn't the most popular move I ever made, but it was, I believed, an effective way to run the city government. Didn't win. Oh, well, sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. So those are some of the big issues that they'll try to get out, not just because it's me, but they've trotted them out on every Democrat who's run. And, you know, I feel like my relationships with people in the community and my experience in government balancing a budget, you know, Roscoe can't say he's ever balanced a budget. He really can't. He signed the contract with America, said he would pay down government debt, and he would only support balanced budgets. Well, he's been there 16 years. And we actually did pay down the debt. But that's not who was in charge then, either. We were in charge when we paid down the debt. We had presidential leadership and a cabinet secretary who understood and was engaged in the economy. There's another important part about government intervention, I think, that people like to talk about. And in times like these, when things are tough, where's the first place they turn? Turn to the government. They want the government to be involved. So I don't think the government is the enemy. Government is there to regulate. Government is there to make sure that our interests are protected so that home mortgages are made in a safe and responsible way. So that when transactions take place, the Securities and Exchange Commission actually get to monitor them. So that pension funds are not raided and people who have hundreds of thousands of dollars of their retirement in one company evaporates because